So you're planning a trip to Israel? Well, I've got the ultimate guide. Stay tuned. We took an epic trip to the Holy Land of Israel. We landed in Tel Aviv, flew to Eilat, and swam in the Red Sea. Went up to Jerusalem, and then floated in the Dead Sea. Saw incredible holy sights. Ate amazing food, and met great people. I'm going to show you how we did it, what to expect while you're here, and to give you a good contact of a local guide that I met along the way, so you too can have your own epic adventure in the Holy Land. And stay tuned. I'm going to give you my top 5 things to do in the Old City and my top 5 things to do outside of the Old City. And I will give you the good, the bad, and the ugly of everything Israel. Okay, so you want to visit the Holy Land. Great. Now, if you're like me and you're living in the United States, and Israel is half a world away, it's going to take time, planning, and most of all money to take a trek like this. But let's say you've already got that out of the way and you want to see as much of the country as you can. Now for us, we flew out of Los Angeles and we took El Al Airlines, an Israeli airliner, on the 787 Dreamliner. Now they were the only ones that had a direct flight to Tel Aviv. So yes, from LA to Tel Aviv was a 13-hour flight, and it is not easy. But if you want to get there, you're going to have to make sacrifices. Now you've arrived, and you want to see Tel Aviv. Now, this city is unlike anything else in the rest of Israel, or pretty much for the rest of the Middle East. A very progressive and very modern city with some of the most incredible beaches you're going to see anywhere. Warm Mediterranean water, great boardwalks, restaurants, and the nightlife. Tel Aviv is a place to party. Now, I didn't see it too much in the way of historical religious significance when I was there, but I know it's certainly there. It's just something that you need to go search out. Next, we took a flight to Eilat, located in the southernmost point of the country, nestled between Jordan to the east and Egypt to the west, right on the Red Sea. Now, unlike the Mediterranean water, the Red Sea is actually quite cold, but in the Eilat heat, the cool water is quite refreshing. Now, Eilat reminded me a lot of Cancun for its resort feel, its beaches and restaurants and bars. It is also known to Israelis and to other tourists as a destination for vacationing. Now, obviously, the biblical historical significance of Eilat is Moses' parting of the Red Sea and bringing the Hebrews out of bondage from Egypt. Now, nobody knows exactly where it took place, but it was nice thinking of it over some mango margaritas watching the sunset over the beautiful Red Sea. Now, on to Jerusalem, where people usually take a pilgrimage to see the world's most holy sites. Jerusalem is split between the old and the new. Jerusalem is indeed a very modern and highly functional liberal democracy and metropolitan city, but it's also very conservatively and religiously run. While most people worry about the religious tensions that are going on there, I personally didn't see that. What I did see was 3 of the Abrahamic religions living in unity with boundaries and respect for one another. Now, this is exactly how it should be, and actually we need a lot more of that in life. Tolerance, understanding, and respect. So, the old city of Jerusalem costs you nothing to explore, and there are many religious treasures and locations to find in all 3 faiths. But you will likely be spending your money on many of the souvenirs of the thousands of merchants all over the old city. Now, one place specifically I wanted to highlight is through the Jaffa Gate, one of the most popular gates in the old city. Once you enter the Jaffa Gate, you'll see a few businesses that will provide you with information on and to sell you tours through the several tour companies. Now, these are fine, and they can provide you with a great time and opportunity to see many of the religious historical sites outside of the old city. However, right here at the Jaffa Gate coffee shop, there is a man there named Isa. He owns this shop. Now, stop in, have an espresso, and he will introduce you to his good friend Abraham. Now, while Isa owns the coffee shop, Abraham is a private driver and a tour guide. Now, you can contact him via WhatsApp at the number that you'll see on your screen, and also provide contact with his information in the description below. Now, I will highly recommend him. He is one of the kindest people you'll ever meet. Now, he took us in his private car to Jericho. We saw the River Jordan, the site where Jesus was baptized, and then onto the Dead Sea. Now, we negotiated a good price with him, and he was actually cheaper than the group tours, and he's incredibly knowledgeable on the history of the sites that we visited and so many other places as well. His biblical knowledge is something I really enjoyed conversating with him about. So, I want you to remember, when you're in the old city, go through the Jaffa Gate, have some coffee with Isa at the coffee shop, and ask for Abraham. Now, you're definitely going to save some money and really enjoy your private tours with him. Now, make sure you tell him that his friend John from America recommended you, especially from this YouTube video. And I guarantee you, he'll take really good care of you. Now, these are my top 5 things to do in the old city. Number 1, shop. It's the easiest thing you're going to end up doing. And you know what? This is a trip of a lifetime. Get yourself some souvenirs, get something for some friends, and try to find some things that are exclusively Israeli. Alright, the next thing I want you to look at is visiting the Church of the Holy Sepulcher. This Church of the Holy Sepulcher is a church of the Christian quarter of the old city of Jerusalem. The church contains, according to traditions dating back to at least the 4th century, the 2 holiest sites in all of Christianity. The site where Jesus of Nazareth was crucified at the place known as the Calvary of the Golgotha, and it contains the tomb and the stone slab that Jesus laid upon in his grave. Spend some time there, take it in. It's really a wonderful. The holiest place in Judaism is the Temple Mount, where the second temple stood until it was destroyed by the Romans in 70 CE. The western wall is all that was left of the temple. The western wall is considered holy due to its connection to the Temple Mount. Because the Temple Mount entry is restricted, the wall is now the holiest place where Jews are permitted to pray. Through the holiest site of the Jewish faith is actually lies directly behind it. Number 4, the Dome of the Rock. Dome of the Rock is an Islamic shrine located at Temple Mount in the Old City of Jerusalem. It was initially completed in 691 and 692 CE on the site of the second Jewish temple that had been destroyed during the Roman siege of 70 CE. The Dome of the Rock is the oldest example of Islamic architecture. Now, the foundation stone that the temple was built around bears great significance to Judaism as the place where God created the world and the first human, Adam. It is also believed to be the site where Abraham attempted to sacrifice his son and place where God's divine presence is manifested more than any other place. The site's great significance for Muslims derives from the tradition connecting to the creation of the world and the belief that Prophet Muhammad's night journey to heaven started at the rock at the center of the structure. And the number 5 thing to do that you must do in the Old City is walk the ramparts. Now, if you're not sure what the ramparts are, essentially, the Old City of Jerusalem is surrounded by gigantic walls. And you can actually climb up and walk around the entire city on top of these walls. The view of this city of Jerusalem is absolutely stunning. The history up there, and it's just something that for just a few dollars, you get to see and experience all that history. It's definitely something you need to do. Now, here are my top 5 things to do outside of the Old City. Number 1, take a small trip to Bethlehem to see the Church of the Nativity. Now, what we did is we took a bus. Just outside of the Old City, there's a small bus depot. All the buses are white. You just ask which one takes you into Bethlehem. They'll tell you it cost us about, I think it was 8 shekels, maybe like $2.50, $3, something like that, per person. And you just take a trip. And it's not that long. It takes you all the way outside of the city into the West Bank, the Palestinian territory, into Bethlehem. Now, once you exit, there's going to be a number of individuals there that are going to be asking you if they could give you a ride to the church. They're hustling. You can negotiate with them and get a really cheap ride. It's not that long of a walk, maybe 20 minutes of walking if you just pretty much follow everybody else who's going, because hey, we didn't know where we were going either. But we just started following the people, and you walk through a bunch of merchants and different places, and eventually you'll end up there. Now, the Church of the Nativity is a basilica located in Bethlehem in the Palestinian West Bank. The grotto holds a prominent religious significance to Christians of various denominations as the birthplace of Jesus. The grotto is the oldest site continuously used as a place of worship in Christianity, and the basilica is the oldest major church in the Holy Land. So if you're going to go and see any church besides the Church of the Holy Sepulcher, I would highly recommend going to see the Church of the Nativity. Now, number 2, the Mount of Olives. The Mount of Olives is a mountain range east and adjacent to the Jerusalem's Old City. It is named for the olive groves that once covered its slopes. Several key events in the life of Jesus Christ and related to the Gospels have taken place on the Mount of Olives, and in Acts of the Apostles it is described as the place where Jesus had ascended to heaven. As a matter of fact, there is a small church there called the Church of the Ascension, or Chapel of the Ascension, and this place is said to be the exact spot where Jesus had ascended to heaven. There's a number of other very amazing churches there, and as a matter of fact, you can get some great views of the city from up here, as well as the most famous scene that you see of Jerusalem with the Dome on the Rock at its center. Number 3, the city of Jericho. Jericho, also known as the City of the Moon, is a Palestinian city in the West Bank. It is in the Jordan Valley near the river Jordan and west, and Jerusalem is to its west. Called the world's oldest city, with a history of over 10,000 years. Here, they have several biblical sites, including the Mount of Temptation, the sycamore tree of Zacharias, climbed to see Jesus, and Elijah's spring, among many others. And make sure you definitely try the dates. They are definitely the best in the world. Number 4, the River Jordan, known as the baptism site of Jesus. According to Christian tradition, the baptism of Jesus in Matthew 3:13 through 17 took place at Qasr al-Udad, or Yahud, excuse me. It's not my first language, you know. North of the Dead Sea and east of Jericho. For centuries, Qasr al-Yahud was the most important baptism site to pilgrims, and you too can get baptized or renew your Christian faith with an additional baptism at this holiest of sites. There's no cost to be baptized here, and as long as there is a pastor who is there who can perform the baptism for you, you can be provided with a certificate that you can purchase. There's a small store there. You purchase the certificate, and the baptism can be done right then and there. They also ask for a few shekels to get a little robe that goes over, and you too can be baptized at the same place of Jesus Christ. And you know what? We did it, and it was a wonderful, wonderful experience. The number 5 best thing to do outside of the Old City is definitely go to the Dead Sea. The Dead Sea is a salted lake bordering by Jordan to the east and Israel to the west. The Dead Sea is the lowest elevation on earth, the lowest body of water, which sits about 1,300 feet below sea level. The minerals in the mud is said to be incredibly healthy for the skin. People are sent here from all over the world for its miraculous healing powers. But with the great amount of salt I did want to find out whether or not you really can float in the Dead Sea. And I'll tell you this, you float like a cork. No joke. Okay, now that I've told you my top 5 things to do inside the Old City and the top 5 things to do outside of the Old City, as well as a little bit about Tel Aviv and Eilat, now let me give you the good, the bad, and the ugly. Now, let me start out with the ugly. It's travel, okay? The hardest part about an Israel trip is getting there. Whatever part of the world you're from, unless you're actually part of Europe, that is not that difficult to get there. The planning, the money, and the journey itself, that's the ugliest part. If you can get past that, you know what? I think the rest of it is going to be a piece of cake. Next, let's get into the bad, get it out of the way. All right? Number 1, it's hot. Israel's hot, okay? There's no getting away from it, okay? Now, unless you get there in the winter time, which I don't know if they really have a winter, but, you know, the temperature is going to be much cooler and a lot more bearable. But, yeah, there's no really getting away from it. You're going in the Middle East. Middle East is hot, and that's just all there is to it. You know, there's not much else you can do about it. Another thing that would be bad would be, I'm used to being able to travel and go around at my own pace and do the things that I want to do. But sometimes in Israel, you can't necessarily do that. The way they have it set up, for safety reasons and for other reasons, especially for those of you who don't know what you're doing, you're going to need somebody to take you around. And that costs money. And it can be a bit frustrating sometimes, but, you know, you're going on vacation. If you're going on a vacation, you need money. And, yeah, you're going to have to pay some guides or pay a taxi driver to take you up to the Mount of Olives. And because trying to walk up there, forget it. You know, it's just too much. Plus, they can also, you know, for a small fee, show you around and you know, explain everything to you as well, so that way you know exactly what's going on. What is it that you're looking at, you know? That's one of the reasons why I've recommended my friend Abraham. He was actually one of the best we found. No, he was the best we found, okay? There was some nice people around there, and you may find some really good people, but you know what? Abraham was definitely the best of the best. He was a great guy, and that's why I've recommended him, and I'm going to leave a little video from him to you guys at the end of this video. So yeah, that's kind of the bad. And going into the good, here's the great part, okay? This is a trip of a lifetime, all right? The country is absolutely beautiful. There's things in Israel that you have no idea that even exist there. It's just absolutely a stunning country to go and visit. The beaches are incredible. People are incredible. The food is, wow, some of the best you'll eat anywhere. And one of the things is they pride themselves on, when you go into local restaurants, that everything is made local. Everything is grown locally. So you know you're getting the best, the absolute best. Yeah, it's incredible. Oh, and by the way, try the Turkish coffee. It is gold. Unbelievable. Some of the best stuff I've ever had. If you're a coffee drinker and you've never had Turkish coffee, have some. You won't regret it. Trust me on that one. Okay? Yeah, and the religious and historical significance of pretty much everything you see. There is anything of historical and biblical type of significance. They pretty much built something around it to let you know that this thing took place in this location, in this spot. Visit the four quarters of the old city. Enjoy the people. Enjoy the food. Enjoy the coffee. And take it in. You know what I mean? It's a trip of a lifetime. So I hope this has been helpful to you. So I hope it's been entertaining. I hope this helps you out with your planning. And when you have an opportunity to go, refer back to this video. Make sure Jaffa Gate, the Jaffa Gate coffee shop, meet my friend Isa. Let him know that John and Ruth from Las Vegas, they're good friends, recommended you and this YouTube video. And he will introduce you to Abraham and negotiate something. And if you don't negotiate, you can make a good friend. But I guarantee you'll have an incredible time. So anyway, that's my time. That's the video. I hope this has been helpful to you and entertaining. And you know what? Make life an adventure. We live once, so, YOLO and all that good stuff, all right? I'm out. It's the OIF Sand Sailor. This is Johnny Mac. I gotta go.
Hi, my name Abraham. I'm walking the Jaffa Gate. I'm a tour guide. I have a car. We do all city tour. Number 1, we do also Bethlehem, Jericho, the Sea Masada. Even in the Nazareth, we cover all the Galilee, Sea of Galilee. My number phone +972-525-338797. Have a good day, my brother John.